Well, welcome to Richie's Roost out here in Shaco, Mississippi. Pretty chilly today. As a matter of fact, the day before yesterday, it got down to 27 degrees. And for you folks who are not familiar with this part of the country, that is really cold down here. Matter of fact, I started a fire in the fireplace night before last. First one we've had this year. It was nice. You know, when you check into this channel, you really never know what you're going to get. And a very good reason for that is because a lot of the times I don't know what you're going to get either until very shortly before we start the video. It can be about politics. It can be about conversations with interesting people. It can be, hopefully, some things that you might be interested in that you didn't know. And I think that's kind of what we're going to do today. I ran across some stuff the other day. You've probably heard of a few of these things, but some of them you may not have. I thought they were kind of interesting, and we'll keep things kind of light this week before Thanksgiving and before the Ole Miss State game and a whole bunch of other games all over the country that are very competitive with rivals. They go back a long way. But I came up with several little items of interest, hopefully that you didn't know or you may have forgotten, or you did know and just wish I hadn't brought them up. We'll see. But for instance, first one, why do men's clothes have buttons on the right side while women's clothes have buttons on the left? Because when buttons were invented, they were very expensive and worn primarily by the rich. And since most people are right-handed, it's easier to push buttons on the right through the holes on the left. But because wealthy women were dressed by maids in those days, mostly, dressmakers who came up with the dresses for these wealthy women put the buttons on the maid's right because the maid was going to button the dresses for the ladies. So they were put on so that the maids could button the buttons from the right. And that's where the women's buttons have remained ever since. Now, another thing is why the ships and aircraft use Mayday as their call for help. Because this comes from the French word, it's spelled M''A''AIDEZ, Mayday's meaning help me, and is pronounced approximately Mayday. So that's where that came from. French. I hope I said that right. I have similar problems with Espanol and Deutsch. Nobody's perfect. Why are zero scores in tennis called love? You know, what's a score? 3 love. Because in France, where tennis became popular, really popular first, the round 0 on the scoreboard looked like an egg. You know, in baseball, we call it, football, which is 0 up there, we call it goose eggs. Well, to the French, that 0 looked like an egg, and was called l'œuf. L'Oeuf. Again, French. It's French for the egg. So When tennis was introduced in the U.S., the Americans naturally mispronounced it and called it love. That's where it came from. Now, for you romanticists, why do the X's at the end of a letter signify kisses? Because in the Middle Ages, when many people were unable to write or read, documents were often signed using the X. And kissing the X represented an oath to fulfill the obligations specified in the document. So the X and the kiss eventually became synonymous. Did you know that? Why is shifting responsibility to somebody else called passing the buck? Now, you may have heard this one. Because in card games, it was once customary to pass an item, and it could be any item, like a stick or a box or a ball, from player to player to indicate whose turn it was to deal. So if it was your turn to deal, they gave you the buck. But if a player did not want to assume the responsibility of dealing, he simply passed the buck to the next person. Hence the term, passing the buck. Why do people clink their glasses before drinking a toast? Well, because in earlier times it used to be common for somebody to try to kill an enemy by offering them a poisoned drink. But the enemies caught on to that pretty quick. So, to prove to a guest that a drink was safe, it became customary for the guest to pour a small amount of his drink into the glass of the host. Both men would drink it simultaneously then. And when a guest trusted his host, he would only touch or clink the host's glass with his own, signifying, I don't believe you put anything in my drink. Let's be friends. So when you clink glasses, you're doing it to say, I'm friendly and I trust that you're not trying to poison me. Why do people in the public eye are said to be in the limelight? Because invented in 1825, limelight was used in lighthouses and theaters by burning a cylinder of lime which produced a brilliant light. And the theater, a performer in the limelight was the center of attention. So they just fired up a big cylinder of lime and it made a huge, huge light. I expect it probably made a bunch of huge, huge fires too. Fortunately, we don't do that anymore. Why is someone who's feeling great on cloud nine? Why do we say somebody's on cloud nine? Because types of clouds are numbered according to the altitudes they attain, with 9 being the highest cloud. And if somebody is said to be on cloud 9, that person is floating well above worldly cares. Okay? Now, a lot of y'all play golf. Or if you don't play golf, you know somebody who is afflicted with that. But you ever stop to think, where did the term caddy come from? A long time ago, I can remember when folks hauled their own golf clubs because we didn't have golf carts, or you paid a youngster or somebody to carry your golf clubs for you, and he was a caddy. Well, where'd that term come from? Well, because when Mary, Queen of Scots, went to France as a young girl, and she was a lively, beautiful young lady, King Louis, King of France, learned that she loved the Scots game golf. She loved to play golf. So he had the first course outside of Scotland built in France for her enjoyment. And to make sure she was properly chaperoned and guarded while she played, Louis hired cadets from a military school to accompany her. Well, Mary really liked this idea. And when she returned to Scotland, which, by the way, was a pretty bad mistake on her part, if you know your history. If you don't, you can check it out. So it wasn't a good idea for her to return, but in the long run, but she took the practice with her of having cadets guard and chaperone her in Scotland. In French, the word cadet is pronounced cadet, and the Scots changed the word into caddy from cadet. So now you know. All right, last one. Why are many coin collections jar banks shaped like pigs? You've all seen piggy banks. Why did it get started in the shape of a pig? Well, because long ago dishes and cookware were made in Europe of a dense orange clay called pig, P-Y-G-G, pig or pag. And when people saved coins in jars made of that clay, the jars became known as pig banks. And when an English potter misunderstood the word, he made a container that represented a pig. And it caught on. Pig banks, piggy banks. Well, that's the end of the lessons for today, and I'm sure you found this breathtaking and very informative. But you can generate some conversation by it. Maybe gain a few coins by betting on the what do you think so and so? How do you think it came into being? It generates some conversation. I don't know about you, but a lot of times I need something to generate some conversation on occasion. So I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, safe, and let's be thankful for all of the things that we do have. We tend a lot of times to fuss about a lot of stuff, but on balance, we have it pretty well. God's been good to me, and I'm thankful for that. Thankful for family, thankful for country, thankful for friends like you. So, again, happy Thanksgiving. Have a safe one. I'm Jim Ritchie. I'll see you again next time.